Hi, welcome to episode 22 of the ukulele sessions. Now, one of the things that I really love about the ukulele is not just that it's a wonderful instrument, but it's the whole community spirit that goes with it. And if there's one person that really embodies that, it is today's guest, Tara Maysey. Now, Tara is a wonderful musician and a wonderful teacher, and I could have interviewed her just about that, and it would have been a fantastic interview. But she's so much more. She has set up this wonderful not-for-profit organisation called the London Ukulele Project. It was set up in 2018 to try and help combat loneliness and to help with promote mental well-being. Now, it's a fantastic project that has done so much so far. One of the things they do is that they donate ukuleles to other groups that are also promoting well-being and trying to combat loneliness. They also run many workshops, but what they're doing, they're running these workshops in London at affordable prices for children that may not otherwise get the chance to learn the ukulele. They're doing other things as well. They've set up a wonderful orchestra for children that encourages children to pick up the instrument, and again, children that may not get the opportunity to do this were it not for Tara's wonderful organisation. Tara has so many fantastic stories about the project that she's running and how it's helped so many children. And this is what's great about the ukulele. I think you don't see this with other instruments, that whole community effort where people come together. Tara's putting so much of herself into this, and she's such a bubbly personality. She is the perfect person to run something like this. You know, she really encourages the children, and you can just see how they warm to her and want to get involved. It's a really wonderful project, and I know that most of the people watching this are into ukuleles. If you feel that you can help in any way, be it that you can give a little bit of money, or you can give a little bit of time, or you can show some love and some encouragement to the whole project in any way, it really would be appreciated. So sit back, enjoy hearing all about the London Ukulele Project with the wonderfully inspiring Tara Maysey. Hello Tara, it is lovely to see you. I'm really looking forward to our chat today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. What an honour to be on the ukulele sessions. It's amazing.
Well, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. You've been on my hit list for a while, you know.
Well, that's it. It is a huge honour. I love everything you've done. Has been brilliant, and to be on the lineup with all those amazing artists and other incredible ukulele players, people, is a huge privilege. So thank you.
Well, you're most welcome. Funnily enough, you've come up in conversation with people a couple of times, so that's interesting as well. And it was all nice stuff. So
oh, good. I hope so.
Lovely. Tara, I wonder if just before we sort of chat about your wonderful sort of non-for-profit organisation, the London Ukulele Project, can you just give us a bit of personal background about yourself, your childhood and your musical background as well?
Well, gosh, yeah. So my parents were, what's the polite word? Quite wild. So my childhood was, hugely fun. There was, my dad worked in the music industry for a while. My godfather founded a music therapy charity called Nordorf Robbins, which is hugely supported by the music industry, and because he insured musicians. So yeah, I'm incredibly privileged. My first gig was a Rolling Stones concert, age 9 at Wembley. Pretty cool. Wow. And then my mum, my mother's side, they're all Irish, so there's lots and lots of music. And how far in depth do we want to go? Like my great uncle was a huge advocate for the Irish pipes, so he raised lots of money so that people could train in the arts. It takes 7 years apparently to train as an Irish. So yeah, my grandfather would always sing. There was always music everywhere. Like after dinner, we'd always perform, and they were great friends. My grandfather and my great uncle with the Beatles.
Wow.
So, yeah, there were these amazing stories, and my dad also had just amazing stories. Like he played bridge with Elvis once.
That's the title of an autobiography if ever I heard one.
Yeah, so my child was full of these stories, and then it got even better when my mum, I think it was 9, and she started working for Elton John.
Wow.
As his florist. So I'd get up at 5 in the morning to go to Covent Garden Flower Market, and then I'd be dropped at school, and then I'd be picked up from school and be taken to Elton John's house where we'd sort of hang out. It was pretty mad. There was a lot of dancing to Pink Floyd, you know, a lot of stomping around the kitchen with our wooden spoons, and my stepfather played the guitar, so that was, you know, he definitely nurtured that side. But my friends, you know, I mean, it was wonderful. It was very imaginative. My friends and I would always put on plays, and, you know, would put on these very elaborate performances of Les Mis and, you know, makeup and costumes, and we'd sit around pretending that we were at the Oscars, and I would always get best soundtrack, obviously. And but they've all gone on to be actors, which is quite funny. So I think, you know, it was very creative, and been hugely influential. But with everything I was told that the music industry would eat me for breakfast, and that I was too nice, and was very much told, you know, don't go down that road. So I always knew I wanted to do something in music. I had was a bit lost for a while, and then, yeah, my husband bought me a ukulele for our first wedding anniversary.
Fantastic.
Because it's wood.
Yes.
And I started running toddler groups. My sister-in-law was asked to take over a toddler group. I think when the lady running it was pregnant and went on maternity leave, and so all the parents thought, we'll have a go at doing this. And then it came to her turn, and she had a proper full-on panic attack. She was like, I can't do this, you're going to have to do it for me. And I did it, and they went, well, you're just going to have to do it every week now. So that's sort of where it started. And then we moved to London, and my husband's a sound engineer. He was working on the Olympics, and then I was nannying, and you know what it's like. It's like trying to
juggling,
fit in everything. And I joined this amazing community ukulele class, and was very fortunate that the tutor took me under his wing, and was, you know, we started a little band, and that's where the sort of community side, and it just grew and grew. And then he very kindly sort of gave me some of his students, and then I gradually built up students. And yeah, I mean, I'm 8 years now I've been teaching.
Fantastic.
But I specialize in early years, so my youngest student's 3.
Wow.
That's what I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
I can. It's interesting chatting to you about your early formative days, because we're going to move on to talk now about this wonderful non-for-profit organisation that you run, the London Ukulele Project, and I'm so excited to hear about it. And I can see already little seeds as to where this came from. So I wonder, could you just tell us about the aims of the London Ukulele Project, its ethos, and how it started, really?
So I'm incredibly lucky. We live in a really nice part of London, and I have a very loyal student. You know, some of my students I've been teaching since I started. Yeah. And I just have to, like, totally off topic, but it was classic. I had a lady turn up on a Saturday morning once. I work from a shop called Ritz Music, and she just rocked up at the shop and went, "Can you teach my 2 children ukulele?" And I was like, well, no, I actually have a student now, and I also have a waiting list. And she said, I said, you know, you have to book in advance. She was like, oh, well, how long do I have to wait? And I said, well, I don't know. You know, some of my students I've been teaching for 6 years now. And she went, 6 years and they still can't play. And I just thought that was so just
That'll be your epitaph.
Anyway, sorry, I'm gonna go back on topic now. But yeah, so I was incredibly lucky, and I had this waiting list, and I then got invited by Age UK Richmond to run a beginner's ukulele course for them.
Okay.
Recommended from a student's mother. You know, it was all sort of interlocked. I've very, very much just followed a path. And I started this course, and after 6 weeks, because it's Age UK, they have to have, you know, this feedback forms and things that I've not really ever asked my students, because I don't really need to know the sort of impact I've made on them, you know, and such. So they obviously ask questions like, you know, do you feel more confident? Do you feel less lonely? And all these kind of things. And all these things came up. They were like ticking the 10 box. You know, they've never felt more confident. They'd never felt, you know, they felt like they'd made tons of friends.
Wow.
And I just thought, wow, you know, it really is. And I had had experiences with other students about, you know, and I obviously grew up with knowing about music therapy, and so, but it made me think, gosh, maybe, you know, I think I'd like to do more with this. And, you know, I also wanted something, I love business, you know, I wanted a business that wasn't so reliant on me, as it were, like,
right.
But I didn't want to I wanted to do something that was giving back, because I love people, and I'd get very, the fact that we have an MP for loneliness just is insane to me. And and this sort of breakdown of community, and so I sort of had this idea, and then I went to Gnuff, to Grand Northern Ukulele Festival, and, you know, like everybody that's been there was just totally inspired by the whole thing, and how everybody, you know, you can't tell who's on stage. I mean, the first day I was like, I want you all to know that I was here performing, like, because you just my ego, I was like, I was on the vinyl stage, because you can't tell who's been there, who's punter and who's artist. And I just think that's so wonderful, and everybody's so open about sharing everything. You know, there's no everyone's so happy to give information away. And I had a lovely chat with Mary, and we'd spoken before, because I put on a few events in London. Like, we'd had Daniel Ward, and we had Sarah Maysell and Craig Chi one year. So you know, I'd had chats with Mary before, and I cornered her and said, you know, what can I do in London? There isn't really anything like this down south, and you know, this sense of community is amazing, and I wanted to do something more for kids, and so she was amazing. She said, you know, just have a look and come up with an idea, and it just sort of spiraled from there. And then she helped me by, you know, she read over my grant application. So I got a lottery grant, the first, which allowed us to put on the children's festival, and sort of get the ball rolling, as it were. And I got funding from a business to do the website. It was a business startup. So yeah, it sort of went, but it's very new. I mean, it's a baby. It's it was the end of 2018. We started with so for the last 3 years, we've done a busk at Waterloo Station, I've organised. And so this was the sort of the beginning of it, was the busk in December 2018.
Fantastic. And what are the aims of the London Ukulele Project?
Yeah, so the aims are to use music to combat loneliness.
Wow.
And to promote well-being. So that's our main aim, but to also give access to music for all
Fantastic.
ages. I don't think it should be restricted to any particular, you know, like I said, my youngest student's 3 and my eldest so far has been 87. So,
Yeah.
You know, it really is something that everybody can have a go at.
Well, that's fantastic. It's interesting that you sort of mentioned the Beatles earlier, and Paul McCartney and George Harrison both sort of famous for loving the ukulele. I've heard a story that George Harrison used to drive around in his Rolls Royce just giving ukuleles out. And he said, you know, you never see anyone with a ukulele who doesn't smile. What impact have you seen the ukulele have on the children?
Well, so for example, I had a student that I've had a couple of students actually that have been quite badly bullied.
Right.
And it's really been, it's therapy for them. I mean, one student, she was quite shy, didn't really know where she fit in. And then she started, and this all came about, she just told me this, and I had no idea at the time until she told me that she was feeling very isolated, and she got really good at the ukulele. She's like my star student. She's just done grade 5, and she's incredibly passionate about it. And but she told me that as she got better at it and it sort of became her thing,
Yeah.
you know, then it was like a conversation starter. And she suddenly sort of became, oh, you're the girl that plays the ukulele really well. And she was invited to play, you know, she was 9 years old. She was invited to play at her school. And people were like, oh, that's quite interesting. And it's different. And it was cool. And also people's jaw drops, you know, when she plays, because she's not just playing chords, she's all over the, you know, up and down the fretboard. I mean, she's a better ukulele player than I am, and she's amazing. And I was so inspired. She was also hugely an inspiration behind the Ukulele Project because of that experience, but also she was really open to, so for example, she would come and help me run the Age UK class.
Okay.
So the mixing the age groups, and she also just said this wonderful quote. She was like, so at the Waterloo Station Busk, we had some press there and they were interviewing her, and they said, you know, so what does the ukulele, you know, tell us about it? And she said, well, you know, obviously I think she said, do you have to practice lots? And she said, well, obviously, you know, it helps if you practice, but it's actually really forgiving if you don't. She said, I mean, I'm paraphrasing her, but she was like, this is what she said, the ukulele loves you and you love it back. And I just thought, oh, how amazing is that? And then she wanted to get a music scholarship. She was applying for secondary schools, and she was laughed out of town almost. Like one school used the words, it wasn't sophisticated enough. And I mean, it makes my blood boil. It's like, if she was playing the guitar, which she probably could, like very easily could transfer to the guitar and play just as well.
Yeah.
You know, just because it's missing 2 strings. Anyway, I won't go down that road, but she eventually did get invited to a school to apply for a scholarship, and she played. I literally have never been more proud. She stood up in a room full of 20 violinists and was the only, you know, ukulele player there, and she stood up and she played an arrangement that she had done herself, and it was Let It Go from Frozen, but it was chords and melody, and it was all over the fretboard. Like, she wasn't just doing C, G, and F.
Yeah.
And the director of music at that school literally said, oh my goodness, I didn't know that the ukulele could do that.
Yeah.
But they didn't offer her a scholarship because they said they wouldn't have to support it, because they obviously don't have anyone that could play
Yeah.
to her level. So she did end up going to that school, and they are very supportive of it. But so that's where the sort of idea of the youth orchestra came from, because you know, I definitely feel like I can help her the best I can, but I think she needs to be taken to another level. And
Yeah.
That's where it's been amazing to have sort of workshops with the lovely Matt Stead, who's been our musical director of our youth orchestra. And but yeah, no, I had one of my 87-year-old students had this amazing story, and he said that so at the beginning of the beginners courses, I go around the room and I say, you know, what would you like to gain from this 6 weeks? And so many of them say, oh, you know, I'd like to play, in this very quiet voice, I'd like to play, you know, maybe one song. And I'm like, we'll be playing 5 by the end of the hour. Come on, like,
Yeah.
And they all just, it's like they go from this to just, oh, I did that. And they've all got horrendous stories. Like, I was told I was stupid at school. I was told I should never play music. I was told I was tone deaf. I mean, who cares? Like, even if, you know, that's what I love about what I'm doing. It's about joy, and it actually doesn't really matter if you play it well or not. Like, it just is about the connection. And this wonderful man, he said, yeah, you know, I'd really like to play. He said, I remember, you know, being sent to a gymnasium during the war. We were being bombed on, and we were sent to be sheltered. And he said, you know, I remember I was 14 years old, and I'll never, ever forget it. And I mean, it makes the hairs on my arms stand up. He said that somebody got the ukulele out and started playing, and they started singing songs, and they forgot that there was a war on. I mean, like, how powerful is that? That it can.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many interesting points there that you've made that I want to touch on, really. I mean, funnily enough, I was chatting the week previous to a friend of yours, Heidi, and she said exactly the same thing. It doesn't matter about making good music, just make music, you know. And I try and say to all of my students, it's the journey, not the end. Don't focus on wanting to learn one song, enjoy the journey. And I think also what you touched on there about health issues, I mean, that war story is incredible. Similar thing, I have a student who had a real tragedy in their life, and he came for ukulele lessons, and he said, the only time I don't think about this tragic thing that happened in my life is when I'm playing the ukulele for half an hour. And I wonder if, like me, you're a firm believer that half an hour can then become an hour. Then it can become 2 hours, and before you know it, not that you've forgotten about this thing, but you're dealing with it in a more positive way. And is that something that you've sort of seen?
Oh, definitely. And it's such a, I mean, definitely, you know, I have another student who's being really badly bullied. I mean, to the point where he was in tears, and it's very high pressure. Like, I mean, we have a horrible statistic in our borough. We have the highest, like, teenage harming or something, and there's horrendous statistics. And it's because they are under so much pressure. They have to be, I think everybody is, we have to be the perfect everything.
Yeah.
And this boy, his family are amazing, but you know, his mother's was a lawyer and is now a surgeon, or was the other way around. And, you know, and then his father's a psychiatrist, and you just think, you know, like, a lot of pressure. And for him, the ukulele, the half an hour we have, it's just for him to totally forget about everything and let go. And we had, at the beginning of lockdown, we had this as Zoom lesson, and it was his sister's 18th. You know, pretty rubbish to have your 18th during lockdown. And I said, well, have you played her happy birthday? And he said, no, I never play in front of my family. And I was like, you've been playing for 3 years now or something, surely you should. And apparently he'd asked them, he's so shy, he asked them to actually leave the house when he was having his Zoom lessons.
Oh, wow.
But also I think it's because it's totally his thing. Like, it's not something, like, again, it's like, quite cool, it's quite different, like cool maybe not, but it's like it's different. And something that is totally his. But I was like, and anyway, we went over happy birthday, you know, I refreshed his memory of happy birthday, and I was like, and he was like, should I go and do it? Should I do it? I was like, yeah, you know, down the screen. I was like, yeah, do it, go. And I could hear in the background, you know, this muffled happy birthday, and then this what? And then he came back, and the smile on his face, I mean, it just literally makes me want to cry now. He was just there going, oh, I did it, Tara, I did it. And I was like, hang on to that feeling. What you've just done then, I am going to cry now. But I was like, hang on to that feeling and just put it in a box. So like treasure, anytime you're feeling rubbish, just think that back to that moment. And I got an email from his mother saying, oh my goodness, I'm not going to lie, there were tears. We were just so proud of him. And we were, I mean, it literally made our day. And I just, you know, wow.
Why do you think there's something about the ukulele, and you were talking about the ukulele community and Gnuff and everything. There's something about the ukulele communities there. And I've noticed from doing this that every single person I've approached to do this, to be interviewed or to do a piece, has done it. And that makes me very, very happy. But I think if I was operating in a different world, I think, say I was operating in the classical guitar world, which I do dip my toe into occasionally, I think it would be a different story. I genuinely do. Whereas everybody here, like you said, everybody wants to share things and that. And do you think that's why the ukulele is so suited to your program?
I think so, exactly. It's so accessible and open and warm, and everybody is so I'm just trying to think, like, it sort of feels like a former life, but at one point in my life I ran a complementary health studio,
right?
and I lived in Thailand for a while. It's a really long story, probably one for another time. But I trained in Thai massage, and anyway, we lived in Scotland, and I founded this complementary health. And within, like, I know, days of being there, I had a call from someone that lived in the village, and she was like, just so you know, I've been practicing massage here for 20 years, and I mean, I just want you to know that you just can't come in and start, She felt totally threatened, and I was like, hang on, I thought this, the most complementary health practice, sort of hippies and free love, whatever. And this is a very generalization, but I think that the unusual thing about it is that everybody's so willing to share, whereas most other aspects of business, or they don't want to give the secrets away because they want to be top dog. I don't know. So I wonder whether the sort of mental health and the joy that it gives, perhaps that everybody that is involved in it has at some point needed that joy. I don't know.
I wonder also your story about the little girl who sort of didn't get the scholarship. I wonder if, because that's a great story and a sad story at the same time, isn't it? And I wonder if, because there's some amazing players out there, and it is slowly getting accepted, but let's face it, it's still not accepted as a classical instrument, really. I wonder if that's something to do with the whole sharing thing. It goes back to its sort of almost folk roots, music being handed down. I don't know. I've never completely established why the community is so warm and understanding and welcoming compared to others. I don't know. Someone tell me.
Well, I know. I mean, our local music hub. This is. I know when I first started, so 6 years ago. It's all run by classical guitarists. And I rang up and said, oh, I'm a ukulele teacher, I've been going into school, can I come in and talk about going into more schools? And they were like, oh, sorry, we don't think it's a proper instrument.
Oh.
Not something we offer. And I was like, how?
Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Like, there's this sort of snobbiness about it. And even my husband, he's obviously he's ukulele 24/7 because I don't stop talking, but you can tell I'm very passionate about it, so I don't really stop talking about it. But he came in the other day, he sort of came running in, he was like, oh, just listen to this really interesting, I think it was like a workshop or a video podcast or something, and he said about, and they were telling us all about how the ukulele, you know, the history of it and how it came from Portugal to Hawaii, but also how it meant that it was the first instrument to be flat on the back and not have that curve, and how so the first guitar was modeled on a ukulele.
Right.
And he was like, sort of makes the ukulele like the first, like the beginning of it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, so it's strange that because it was the beginning of that's how it's been.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if you speak to people from Hawaii, they say that there's this, you know, I was lucky enough to, I had a chat with Jay Molina at Grand Northern Ukulele Festival, and he was saying, yeah, you know, most people have a ukulele in their house, but it's still considered a bit of a joke.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Maybe I'm going to come back in 100 years and, you know, see where we are, you know, see if it's finally accepted. But you've got some great stories there. Thank you for sharing them with us. Now, can you tell me what are the good parts and what are the bad parts about running the London Ukulele Project?
Well, so the good parts is, oh my goodness, I've made so many friends from this whole.
I can't imagine you struggle to make friends, Tara.
Oh, you're very sweet. But yeah, it has been, just so lovely. Made lots of friends and had lots of wonderful. I mean, Heidi and Daniel came and they stayed with me, and we did the Children's Festival. And I mean, oh my goodness, what amazing people, and just top human. I literally, when they left, I cried. I mean, I just felt like, and I just wish they lived around the corner. And I just watching Heidi with we went into a special needs school, but you know, quite sort of like some had severe special needs, and she just, I just can't explain it. It was like magic, and she just, and the lady that runs the school is just this incredible lady as well. I just think if you work in that kind of field, you just I can't explain it. It's like your soul comes out of your eyes. It's like, she just was this amazing lady, and she said to me, oh, you know, she was so excited that we were offering this ukulele workshop, and you know, it would be something that they would never usually be able to afford. And they she said to me, oh, you know, probably they'll only last like 10-15 minutes. I mean, half an hour later, the children were just like, couldn't get enough of it. And the work ethic of so it was just so many amazing experiences through that. We'd be here for hours talking about it.
I think Heidi she personifies the ukulele for me. You know, she's a great player, and her enthusiasm, like yourself, it's just pouring out of her, isn't it? So what are the worst? Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I think just the fact that her and Daniel, I don't know if you saw in our charity, the charity single that we did with a little help. One of my favourite parts is they had a little kiss, and it's just adorable. But the bad points is that I have done a lot of work for, because it's such a learning curve. It's a very steep hill. So there's quite a lot of things I've done that haven't gone into fruition or haven't worked, or that I've put hours into and then had to hold back. I don't know, because it's a lot of, I don't really know what I'm doing. So it's a lot, it's a learning curve, and I'm quite chaotic. I'm quite chaotic, and in that I have all these ideas that I want to do, but it's sort of then implementing them. So, for example, you know, we have just so many big ideas. I don't know if you see behind me. This is a mood wall.
Okay.
This is one. So to try and just focus a little bit rather than be like, oh, we could do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. It's just totally unrealistic. But one of my great dreams is to have a ukulele proms.
Oh, wow.
And so I have the Albert Hall there, and it will happen.
Yeah, I think in a bizarre way, your negative experience of the project is almost a positive, in that these are things that you want to do, and you've got a million ideas. You know, if you'd have said, "Oh, the negative side is I can never think of anything to do," whereas you've actually said the negative thing is I've got all these ideas that I want to do.
I'm not short on ideas. It's just the trying to implement them financially is hard.
Yeah,
and I, you know, part of what I really want to do is I want to support teachers. So, you know, and I want to support the likes of yourself. You know, I don't think you should be working for free. I think that you have a skill and you should be paid for it. And so, although I'm very, you know, I think it is amazing that everybody's open and doing lots of stuff, sort of sharing. I do think, you know, this is how you make your living. This is how you pay your mortgage, and I think that people don't really appreciate that. I don't know.
That's a very interesting point, and you see it discussed a lot on Facebook. I think the ukulele potentially suffers that more than other instruments, that, you know, someone will say, "Oh, can you come and play at this event for free and we'll promote you?" Yeah, well, promoting me doesn't pay my mortgage.
Any creative, I mean, you know, we were talking earlier about how Matt, being a sound engineer, being told that he should get a better job.
Yeah.
You know, it's so yeah, but and I would love volunteers, but I'm not very good at asking people to volunteer. I'd much rather be able to pay them, but then that's not really how a charity should work. So
it's that balancing act, isn't it, of people
so it is
giving their time because they want to, but, you know, yeah, I'm sure you're very masterful at handling that. Can you tell us a little bit about what the future holds for the London Ukulele Project?
Well, you know, I am working hard to try and make things happen, and I always will. You know, I'm very passionate about it, and I've definitely, this start of it has definitely, you know, it's definitely something I want to do, and I want to continue, and I want to grow. But I also, you know, I am in charge of paying my mortgage currently, so I have a full teaching schedule. And I also have a 5-year-old, so I have to be realistic about what I can do on my own. So if anyone wants to help, then you are more than welcome. But the aims are, you know, I hope that if we're sort of looking forward 20 years, I'd like there to be ukulele projects all over the country.
Wow.
And I like the idea of sort of then us meeting all together, like I said, for like a ukulele proms, in somewhere like the Albert Hall, and that would be my aim. That's like
fantastic. How can people get involved? What can they do to help you?
Well, so you can check out the website and email me and say I want to help, and then I can. I mean, again, it's quite hard to know if there's anyone that has experts on funding. That would be really helpful. Fantastic. Anyone has a magic touch to there's just a lot to do. There's lots of sort of funding applications, and I'm trying to get a resource together so that what I want to do is build a teaching community. So you know, I had a really nice chat with a guy in Bristol yesterday who is teaching, and just wanted to, I don't know, it's quite isolating sometimes being a teacher even, and just bouncing ideas off one another and maybe supporting each other. There are lots of groups, like ukulele groups, but there isn't something that's just for teachers, or certainly that I've not found anyway.
Yeah.
So if there are any ukulele teachers that want to get involved, then yeah, just pop me an email.
Fantastic. So anyone with any skills in fundraising or any ukulele skills, please do get in touch.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. Oh, that's been extremely exciting to chat to you about the project. I can't wait to see where it goes. Now, something that I ask all of the people that we have on here, Tara, and this is specifically about you. So you're in a car, you can go anywhere on this journey, and you can go with anyone, past or present. I want to know what car you'd be driving, who would be your passenger, what would be on the stereo, and where would you be going, Tara?
Well, it's it's such a good question, and I spent ages thinking, gosh, how could I sound really cool and like exciting? Yeah, no. I think I was very lucky growing up. My stepfather had an Austin, like a classic. I think it was I don't know what number it was. It was like a bus. And I don't know if you've seen Danny, the champion of the world.
Yes.
Jeremy Irons. It was that. It was that car, and I just love it. So I would be in that.
Fantastic.
And I would be. Can I have more than one passenger?
Yes. Well, if you're in a big car like that, someone the other day.
My family. I'd have my husband and my son, and we would be listening to Pink Floyd.
Fantastic. On cassette, no doubt, in something like that.
It probably doesn't even have a stereo. I mean, it doesn't even have, it has the, even the indicators are just the things that flip out.
Well, we'll let you take a ukulele and you can sing Pink Floyd.
Yeah, okay. So we'd be singing Pink Floyd, and we'd be probably in the Highlands of Scotland or somewhere like that, somewhere very beautiful and bit remote. We're if it was a magical world, there'd be no midges, would there? So
and nice weather
and glorious sunshine.
That's fantastic. That sounds absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for chatting to us about this wonderful project. It's your enthusiasm comes through so much, and I really hope that from this some people get in touch and that it's something that grows. I'm sure it's been fairly challenging in the COVID situation as well, so keep up the good work. Thank you very much for your time, Tara. What I'll do now, I'll stop the recording and we'll have a little chat.
Thank you so much.